Our guest today is Rachel, and I will introduce her formally in a moment. But she is coming to us live from her beautiful backyard. It is her peaceful place, and so we all need places of tranquility and peace, especially with all that's going on in the world. And she is able to carve out a little bit of paradise in her own backyard. For those of you who are joining us, I do want you to know that at any time you can add a question to the chat box. There will be a time for Q&A where you can ask questions from our expert that you might have regarding the work that they're doing and how that work might be moved forward or how you can benefit from services that are being offered. We will go ahead and get started. My name is Pastor Marlon, and I do have the privilege of serving as pastor at St. Luke AME here in the wonderful city of Waco. It is an exciting time to be in Waco, even amidst all of the challenges that we are facing. This is the first faith and culture dialogue that we are having. And really, what prompted us to start this particular ministry was the reality that as Christians, we are called to do more than attend church on Sunday mornings and show up for Bible study on Wednesday. And so this is for the St. Luke Church family and friends. This is one of our discipleship opportunities. In the book of First Chronicles, the 12th chapter, the Bible talks about the men of Issachar. And it says the men of Issachar understood the times and they knew what to do. And it's important that we understand what's going on in our world, what's going on in our country and in our city, and be equipped with the tools to be able to handle what's taking place. And so we have launched this ministry to help believers become fully formed believers, not just ones who can shout on Sunday, but those who can make a difference in the community. And our first guest is none other than Rachel Pate. She is a native of Waco. I do want to read her resume for you so that you can know all about her. And then we'll just dive in to some of the questions that we have, and we'll spend some time dialoguing together. And so Rachel is the Vice President of Economic Development at the Cen-Tex African American Chamber of Commerce here in Waco. She is the daughter of the late R.E. Pate Jr. and evangelist Linda Pate, a Waco native and graduate from University High School. Since 2016, she has served in various roles at the Chamber and championed the cause of small entrepreneurs, women, and minorities. She is also a Leadership Plenty Institute graduate, Rappaport Academy Public School Board member, A.J. Moore Advisory Board member, and Startup Waco Board member. That just means she is active in the community. Um, with her mother being a Sunday school teacher and now evangelist, Rachel began serving the community at a very early age. She was very active on her church's usher board and youth ministry. Some of her fondest memories are growing up in Waco and being surrounded by her large extended family for reunions and Juneteenth gatherings. Her mother is one of 11 siblings who hail from Waco. She's also the proud mom of one, lifelong member of Tolliver Chapel Church, lover of the great outdoors, and she's outdoors right now, and an avid basketball fan. So she probably knows everything that's going on inside that NBA bubble. She is a dedicated, and let me get this right, a dedicated wearer of Converse Chuck Taylor shoes. She stays fresh. Her favorite scripture, Romans 8:3, 8:31. If God be for us, then who can stand against us? I want to introduce to you all today, Rachel Pate. Thank you so much for joining us. And as we begin, I just want you to really just share your story. You are now the VP of Economic Development at the Cen-Tex African American Chamber. You didn't get there overnight. Could you just share with us your journey and how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. Number one, thank you for having me. Thank you, St. Luke Church congregation, for warmly welcoming me. I can feel the love through the Zoom. But absolutely, getting where I am right now today was not overnight, and it was not by my own plan and my own design. It was definitely of God. As you mentioned, I've grown up in Waco. My family has been a part of Tolliver Chapel since before I was born. So I was born into that church family and raised and reared in it with my sisters, with my cousins, gone to Waco schools, participating in activities, sports, different things, Girl Scout. But most of my training, I feel like I got from church. Church was the place where I learned how to stand up in front of people and speak, doing Sunday school lesson high points or doing Christmas plays and Easter speeches. Those were the things that I engaged in as a kid with my family and with my church community, was being active in the youth department. And I'll tell anybody now at this point, I'm willing to proclaim that I strongly went to church as a child and as a teenager because my mom put me there. She made sure that we were all there. But once I had an opportunity to leave the nest, I didn't go as often. And I would check in from time to time and be active in spurts. But the continuity left when I became an adult. And I would say during my 20s, I lost my way in the world and with my faith. I was living based on my own assumptions and judgments and information. And what I saw as being stuck and being in a place without prosperity was a lot more about my relationship or lack thereof with God than it was with me trying to weather the storms on my own. And when I finally realized that and began to understand that, it was just before having my son, which was in my early 30s. And at that time, I was afraid of the road that lied ahead because I hadn't planned for it. I had not worked out all the details. I didn't have all the answers. And I also knew that no one could come in and shoulder that load like I was supposed to or like I could. So I knew it was time to be responsible, to woman up and put down some roots. So I can remember being pregnant and saying to God as I'm driving around just wherever I might have been going, Lord, I give my life to you and the life of my unborn child. And I know that, whatever this situation is or whatever this road holds for me, that you're the only way to get there. I can't make it without you. I can't, expect anybody else to come do this. It's me and you. And from that moment, I began walking in faith and believing that those unknowns would be answered in God's time as long as I heeded the voice of the Holy Spirit when I heard it. And so I heard it throughout the time of, being a new mom and looking for opportunity, looking for ways to cement myself for growth for my son. And one of the things that I came across was the chamber. And through a series of events, the way that God does, using all things, I ended up in the chamber in 2016 in a time where I was ready for change personally and professionally. I had undergone some lessons and some I guess some living and some life that let me understand the value of what I wanted to put into my family and what I wanted to put into a job or occupation to achieve it. And the chamber was that door for me. I got there on prayer. I was hired for one job and asked to start immediately the following day. I was able to immediately plug into our community, to plug into the local economy, our elected officials, the real inner workings of the community. I don't have enough time, to be honest, to give you the testimony that deserves for where God brought me from in being, and when I think about the Bible, being a prodigal daughter and saying, what, life was good and it was nice, but let me see out here. And after I came from out there with my head hung low, God welcomed me back and he had blessings unimaginable for me and for my family. And so that is the thing that led me back. I would say definitely God pulled me back to my faith with motherhood, focused me, straightened me. And once I knew I had a mission, he put me on the right path to execute that through the chamber.
Wonderful. So grew up in the church. The church helped to form who you are as a person. As you got into your 20s, you said there was a season where you stepped away from the church. You were doing things on your
Mhm.
own. Birth of the upcoming birth of your child was a wake up call, and God began to speak to you and to draw you back, and then just through nothing but God, your
Yeah,
steps were
nothing.
ordered. Nothing but God. Steps ordered to the chamber. When you got there, you didn't start as the
I
VP.
started as assistant to the president
Started
back in
as an
20.
assistant. But just the work ethic, just pounding the pavement, building relationships, doors begin to open for you, and now you find yourself, as one of the leaders at the chamber, the VP of economic development. So now, what does a day in the life of Rachel Pate look like as the VP of economic development? What goes on for you on a day-to-day basis?
Busy. And as a matter of fact, come on this way, baby, since he making an interruption. Come on, because I promised him my own camera. Hello, come on, very quickly, very quickly, very quickly, very quickly. Say hello to everyone. This is my room. Oh, that's actually Pastor Marlon.
Hey, how are
But
you?
yes, he says, how are you? Good. Okay, will you wait for Mama while I'm on? Okay. All right, I'll be in a minute. He is
Yeah.
attending. His grandmother is attending him, and that's my mother is the partner that I have right now in making sure that I can do the work that I do, and I always have a safe place, a safe environment for my son to be a part of. But a typical day is a busy day. It really is, and I say it not in the sense of there's so many things that I want to do, but I wake up each day with a plan, schedule, and it may not be that filled, and by the end of the day, it does get filled. He has decided to play in the holes. I apologize. This is real life. This is what happens when I'm on my meeting. My son begins to play in the water hose and come. And that's, I guess, most recently since COVID, being able to work from home has been great because I get an opportunity to not only help educate my son on things that I think that he's missing or lacking or I want him to retain over the summer, but also show him the kind of work that I do. So I'll get up and I'll advise him of my schedule for the day and what his schedule is. He'll eat breakfast. I will, get to my work schedule. He will get to his schedule of learning or being with his grandmother. And as that happens throughout the day, I have worked, with businesses in some way, whether that is helping them locate a resource, helping them find the right person, helping them get to the next level in some way. I'm also in talks with our elected leaders and local officials discussing different programs and different initiatives. Thank you, baby. Different programs and initiatives that matter to businesses or matter to our communities of color. I have the opportunity to host our monthly TV show. So I make media appearances not only on our show to interview other people and get information, but also to share information out from the chamber. And when my day is over, after the running around of things at maybe 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, I still tune into the news, into social media to find out what's circulating, what information I'd like to share. And I purposefully use social media as a means of communicating things that I think people should be aware of locally. A lot of my posts speak to local news and local information. It's not as much about my family outings or my personal life as much as it is about sharing information, because one thing that I've noticed is a lot goes unseen and unnoticed. And so it is our responsibility as people in the know to share that. And at the end of the evening, we wrap it up. After dinner, we go to bed, we say our prayers, and we prepare to do it all over again.
Yeah. So when you talk about sharing information, that is something that you do well. And I want to appreciate you for a recent blog that you did. And I want to lift just the beginning of that blog because I think it provides some real insight in terms of the economics here in the city of Waco. The blog was entitled Equity in Action, and you shared statistics from a 2019 article in the Waco Trib that were presented at a racial inequity retreat attended by our mayor and by our city council. And one of the stats that you shared said among white households, 13.5% make less than 25,000 a year. Among white households, 13.5% make less than 25,000 a year, compared with 25.3 among Hispanics and 51.1% among African Americans. Why was it important to share that statistic?
I think it's important, number one, for people to know where we were pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, we were already talking about disparities in our community. We were talking about equity. We were talking about living wages, income, access to capital, all the things that have historically been barriers to Black businesses and other businesses of color. And so I wanted to bring back to the forefront that this is not a new conversation, but also that there were some promises that were made based on credible data found by the city that we still need to abide by and look at how we move forward beyond COVID, taking that into consideration as well.
Good. So I know that there are quite a few people here in Waco. There are African Americans who would really like to start a business. What would you say to an African American that is aspiring to start a business, but maybe they feel like it's beyond their reach?
Number one, personal opinion, nothing is beyond your reach. There is no box. I had to learn that, and that's what faith will do for you. Put your faith in God and all things are possible. So that's number one. Professionally, when you walk into the office and you're uncertain of what the next step is, but you want to know how to become a business owner, that is what the Chamber of Commerce exists for. It is not unique to our office. All chambers of commerce offer a network of other businesses and resources and information. So whether, I don't know, baby, I'm sure it's a few. Okay. But considering how many, excuse me, baby, considering how many people of color are lacking in the business industry, it may seem like such a challenge to break into. And that's why at our chamber, we not only offer you the business sense that you can get somewhere else, but we also offer you the experience and expertise of living in the same skin that you're in and understanding those barriers even better, and being people who can say that we advocate based on that we advocate based on the experience of ourselves, of our clients, of our members. And that's how the chamber helps you steer yourself to the right resources. So I would tell them, number one, check with your business resources in your community, your chamber being one, but you also have your small business development center where they offer free business counseling. There are so many free resources, so many nonprofit resources available in Waco for help, for assistance, for getting started. All you need to do is plug into the right place that will plug you to the others. And for our community right now in business, that is the Cen-Tex African American Chamber.
Can you just share with us some of the key attributes that entrepreneurs should know? What are some things that you should know as an entrepreneur?
Number one, you should know how to get all of your paperwork in order. And that's the truth. If you're any entrepreneur of any background, paperwork and documentation are critical to a business. It starts with the first steps you make with your business plan, to registering your business, to getting your tax ID number, to doing your financials. So you have to get good with documentation and record keeping. What I also want to encourage people have entrepreneurship activities going on in their life without the paperwork to back it up. What I will tell you that we've learned in COVID, if your business is not structured by paperwork, when the pandemic hits or the crisis hits, the relief and the help will be tied to the paperwork or the lack thereof. So you must have your affairs in order and cross your T's and dot your I's. That's one of the resources that the chamber can offer you in counseling, as well as the SBDC and Startup Waco. There are resources that will help you go over every step of paperwork processes that you need to understand and know. And as you become bigger and better, then you can contract somebody else to know that paperwork and handle it. But starting out, you got to know your business in and out and have everything in writing. Next, for an entrepreneur and starting a business, access to capital. It takes a lot of nurturing and financial support to start, build, and grow a business. And don't take that on as something lightly. You know, can you afford not only to put into your business, but quit your day job if need be? You know, understanding all of the financial aspects of what a business is going to do for your family or do for you is important. And again, sitting down and talking to somebody who's a financial expert, like a banker or like our President John Bible at the Chamber. There are people who can give you counseling about preparing for loans. There are resources now that exist for grants for businesses. So you want to make sure that you get your financing in order after you get your paperwork in order. And the third thing I would give is certainly not the last thing, but to just maybe give you the first three things that you want to think of. In doing your business, oftentimes you will be the owner, the operator, the cook, the bottle washer, the janitor, the customer service lady, and all of these people. It definitely takes a commitment to start that business, and you have to be prepared not only to manage everything of it, the things that you do well. If that's, say, running a restaurant and you cook well, that is great. But you also have to have restaurant management. You also have to have bookkeeping. So know that the thing that you enjoy and that is your passion, you may be great at that, but you will also have to fine tune your skills as an owner to understand the other operations outside of your talent that you'll need to perform as being a part of that business, and also anybody else that comes along to work with you.
So that's extremely helpful. Part of what we're doing in this faith and culture dialogue is to really highlight the need for faith communities to understand various aspects of our community, especially business. The first thing you said is that you have to have your paperwork in order. And I think one of the things that has hurt many churches in terms of being able to access some of the resources that are available, the Paycheck Protection Program, you know, as an example, is that they did not have the paperwork to be able to properly submit the information that they needed. You know, they may have a musician, but they're not, they're paying that musician, but they may not be, you know, reporting that on taxes. And the pastor may be getting paid, but you know, it may be going to housing and not to, you know, there's some things that churches do. And so many churches were not able to take advantage of the Paycheck Protection Program just because they didn't have their paperwork in order. And so, you know, if there are, you know, members from the community of faith, of course, who are watching now, pastors, the chamber is an organization that can help, you know, in many ways. And I think that is just one of the ways. I know that the chamber right now is doing some very exciting things in terms of providing support to minority businesses and even planning some things long term. Can you share some of the exciting things that the chamber is now doing, really kind of in response to COVID, that will continue to be a benefit to our community?
Absolutely. In order to tell you about what we're doing now, I have to take you back just about a year. We got a new president last May 1st, 2019. Within the last year before coronavirus, we were building relationships and partnerships and strengthening old relationships and partnerships in preparation of big things to come. And, you know, like they say, if you want to make God laugh or smile, tell him your plans. So what we thought we were preparing for wasn't what we were faced with after spring break in March, which is a global wide pandemic. Everybody in a position of being a responder to whether that is health concerns or work concerns or business concerns, everyone was on alert. And for us, we took that as the opportunity to step up and say, now we do what chambers need to do. This is a time where if businesses are in trouble, because that's our lane, if businesses are in trouble or our community around our businesses are in trouble, this is where we get into action and make a plan that focuses on that. So in doing that, we were able to work with the local officials to create influence and information that went into the relief fund for the city, but also to get information and have dialogue with our own community and our members, our church leaders, our education leaders, our business leaders. And as part of that, we created our Community Voices group, which you are a part of, but also Wanika Hamid, who's with the East Waco Business League and also business owner of Four Sons Trucking, Quavis Peacock, who has an extensive professional resume here in Waco of community development with several organizations, and all that this, I can say, speak for that young brother. Every time he moves to a different place, he elevates his community development skills. So his transitions have benefited us in learning from all of the organizations that happen to be a part of the community, and our president as well being a part of that. And we created the Cen-Tex Minority Business Equity Fund from the start of that conversation. As we sat down to talk about what do people need, organically, that sprung out of it. We didn't start the conversation with that in mind, but as we surveyed the community, as we got feedback, we found that there would not be enough relief to last indefinitely. There was no insurance that we had at that moment that relief would get to us locally and get to our community and the businesses that we care about and our members. And so we took that as the initiative and the challenge to create something new. So the Equity Fund is poised to launch later this month. We have a target date of actually having it out by the first Monday in August, but being able to provide details and training, kind of preparation information for the community by the end of the month. We are also working on workforce development. We are working on bringing industry to East Waco. We are also working in partnership with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Prosper Waco to do a online minority directory. This is something that will function as a free community resource for businesses of color. They will have online profiles where they can update and change information, and there will be a mapping tool that will let you know throughout the community where you can find businesses of color. And one of the greatest things about that is being able to provide access to contractors, historically underutilized businesses, women-owned businesses, minority contractors. There's so much development still going on. There's interstate development, city development, other kinds of projects that we'd like to be able to put contractors and put builders in touch with, or even government agencies in touch with our community so they can be a part of it. So I would say there's a great deal of initiatives that you will see come out this year as well as next year that directly address what we've seen since the pandemic, but also pick up where we left off with creating equity in the community and being able to use Waco as an example, not just of what the Black community is doing, but of what the community is doing to turn the tune right to where we are culturally and where we are nationally with our conversations. And that takes everybody in business community, in school, in health, officials and leaders in churches to tune in onto the same wavelength so that we can get on one accord together. And when you see prosperity in Waco, you see a thriving community throughout. As you pointed out, those numbers show what the veneer is to the community. Lots of prosperity in pockets, not in communities of color, and that the community is thriving despite those businesses not doing so always. And so this is our opportunity to level everybody up.
That's good. And that sounds like a great resource. Where will that resource live? Where would we be able to find that resource?
You said, where can we find the resources?
That resource that will provide information to the directory of businesses. Where can we find that resource?
Absolutely. We are working on it currently with Prosper Waco. Right now, it will be housed on their website primarily, but each of the chambers would have a link on their page to that directory. So checking with your chamber to be able to get to that general directory is one way, or being able to go to the Prosper Waco website. And our website address for the chamber is www.centexchamber.com. And so people can stay tuned there for updates, not only on the equity fund and the contracting directory, but also other initiatives like the workforce development information for finding our members as well, our chamber members on our page.
So tell us about membership to the chamber. What does it take to become a member? What are some of the benefits of being a member?
Absolutely. What does it take to be a member? Number one, keeping it very simple, complete the application and pay your dues. That is as simple as it is to become a chamber member. There are various membership levels. So you don't have to be a business owner. You don't have to be a for-profit entity. You can be an individual, a student, a corporation, a church, nonprofit, what have you. The benefits. Number one, the chamber is a network. If I've learned nothing else about being in this arena, networking is key. Social capital is key to moving about the community and knowing the ins and outs and overcoming gatekeepers. You know, instead of going to the wrong person or somebody that's going to forward you somewhere else, knowing the right people. The chamber affords the same relationship opportunities to our members as we have ourselves. If we have access to the mayor or the city council, you do as well. You are able to call and ask for information to contact persons or businesses, or if you want advocacy on a certain point, you can bring that to the chamber and say, hey, we are having a problem with our businesses. We'd like to share information through the chamber with our elected officials, our neighborhood associations, or whatever that may be. But the chamber's network belongs to the members as well. So that includes all of the members, all of the officials, all of the organizations, and it's a growing network. It is something that changes constantly. So you will never run out of people to connect with and meet with that can boost your business, or you can boost their business. We also have opportunities for training, many of them free. As we are looking at the world we're in right now and being able to socially distance and still get things done, a lot of that is going online. We are looking at doing a virtual boss conference. And our boss conference is our business opportunity success series, where we try to touch on what's relevant right now in our community for business owners to know, and put intense training information and expert speakers up to give you that in one day. And so since we can't physically sit down together, that will happen virtually this year. We also do fundraising opportunities. A fundraising opportunity for the chamber usually consists of being able to put your business out there. If you want to market your business, you can be a part of an event by sponsoring it. There are things such as our annual golf tournament or Juneteenth parade, where you actually participate within the activity and can market your business. We have not only the ability to market and share, but to put the membership information out on our website so people know when they are looking for businesses within the chamber that you are affiliated with the chamber, and also making referrals out. We also have computer resources in our office. Our Center of Business Excellence is a small business incubator. I'll give you, for example, HTS Construction was started out of our Center of Business Excellence. When they started doing government contracting, they weren't very successful initially. After a couple of years and working with the chamber and working through our Business of Excellence Center, they were able to get their bonding over $1 million. So they were able to take contracts over $1 million without having a office set up, without having their own computer, without having somebody on staff that, you know, knew everything about every aspect. They used the resources physically of the chamber, also intellectually of the chamber and other organizations to move their business forward. So that's the stepping stool that I think the chamber offers in resources, in addition to Esther's Closet, which is a workforce program for women and provides free clothing for women for job interviews and for new jobs. So that's a long list, and it's even more than that. But I would tell you, in our office, you have the ability to find what you need for business, to find what you need for employment, and find what you need for community resources all in one.
Yeah, and I just want to testify that the chamber is extremely helpful in helping to launch businesses. I have a nonprofit, and I approached the chamber, you know, for some advice. And the chamber has been instrumental in the success of that nonprofit and growing. We hosted our first event, and the chamber was right there by our side. We were looking for a caterer. The chamber was able to make a recommendation to Waffle Chick, African American owned business here. We were looking for an event space to be able to host it, and we were connected to the Brazos Event Center, another African American owned business. And then we had to get people there. And the chamber was even willing to share our event and made it a success. We had close to 100 people that showed up, and many of those people that showed up were there based on the recommendation of the chamber. And so you all have done, excellent work, not just with for-profit businesses, but even nonprofits. And so I want to say thank you for the support that you provided. And I know that it's not just my organization, but you do that for all those who walk into the doors of the chamber. I'm very interested in finding out from your perspective, what innovative things can churches do to strengthen the economic well-being of the community?
That is I've thought about this question because I've gotten a similar question before from a different congregation. And I thought after I answered that, when I said I didn't say all I wanted to say. So I said, let me make sure I say it this time. It is so important that our faith community be the driving engine in the community that they can be. It's not limited to economics. That's a big impact that they absolutely have, buying and purchasing power and membership power. But where we are right now, when we are looking at systemic racism and inequity, the voice that needs to be heard is the voice of the church. Mm. And when you address truth outside the doors of the church, and you bring God to people and meet them where they are with the issues that they have and speak truth to them, you can change all things. So I didn't want to limit it to economic prosperity because I feel like the role is, church, we need you out here with us on Mondays through Saturdays, and vice versa. We need to be in with our church on Sundays and Wednesdays and days to work together. But if you want to specifically just isolate economic opportunity and being innovative, everything that our chamber has done, a church could do. They may not need to or have the room to, but they could as another nonprofit organization. By that, I mean, you can have funds that benefit the community to give equity loans or to give micro loans to members to start businesses. You can have a small business incubator in your church and have resources available for members or community members to be there. One of the best pieces of business advice that I've gotten lately from a banker, a great banker in Waco, was think about your organization as a business. Some of the moves that you may have to make when you talk about being innovative, take it from the mindset of we've always done it like this, or this is the plan, to what is successful and what has worked for other people and how do we customize it to work for us. Rallying your church members and congregation to efforts that impact your community positively, bringing their attention to things that impact your community negatively, and charging them as part of their Christian duty to exercise their faith in action and in work and deed outside of the doors, and keep the communication going within that network. And so I think what it is we just want to take what the church does best and turn it outward, and bring the world closer to the church and the church closer to the world and the issues of the day. So absolutely start looking at the things that drive good economic development for your community that may be happening outside the church, and figure out how you can either do that within your congregation or join in the effort with someone to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's challenging. And I received that challenge. You said that everything the chamber has done churches could be doing. And as we started our conversation, you said that there was a season of your life where you left the church, and I do wonder if the reality you just stated, that there are things that the church can be doing to impact the community that we're not, is one of those reasons that made it easier for you to leave for a season. That if the church was more present,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. No shade. This is no shade to church. No shade. Because I used to be that young person. So when I was in church, I was that young person that looked around at my elders and more seasoned saints as being routine. I said, oh, on Sunday about this time, the pastor get amped up, the organ start playing, sister so-and-so start running, she waving, we out, 20 minutes later. And so for me, it didn't speak to the time and the things that I was observing and I needed guidance on. And to understand those things better, I just went completely head on into the world to experiment and see for myself. And so I think that's why I say in all things that we are doing and we hope to achieve, we have to have the church, because it's not just money, it's sex, it's drugs, it's alcohol, it's racism, it is abuse, it is all kinds of things. We are not safe and cozy in the building. And while our brothers are outside the building afraid and fighting, we have to join in a way, whether it is in this place or that place, to get to the next place together. And so that's why I shared with you briefly, I did step away from church. And not only did I step away from church, I'll be honest and say it, I called myself an atheist at one time and an agnostic. So I all the way told my mom God didn't exist and said it and regret. Oh yeah. I know. I'm proof now. I'm proof. Won't he make you tell the truth about who he is? That is done for me. But as I said, no, I'm not gonna get on that box right now. But the fact of seeing with your own eyes sometimes is believing. And when I went out there and I experienced and saw and lived and felt, I knew what goodness was because I had it and experienced it before. And I knew that if I went back to where I was trained up, that I might have the opportunity to live differently than where I saw myself going. And that was the thing. It has been a blessing. I tell my son all the time, you're my greatest blessing. You couldn't have told me that the day I found out I was pregnant, because I was crying and I was in tears and I was afraid. But God couldn't tell me then that I would be here now. I had to have faith and I had to trust him. And that's what I hope to see in this wave of change that happens within the church, that the ministry, the witnessing and the testimony and the I guess the soul gathering, it doesn't just come from the pulpit. It comes from the pews too. To be an example and to share God's love and God's light with people through what you do, to take a moment when it hits you to speak on God in a conversation and say, I do this because of this, is so much more impactful. And so when I think about the campaign of where the church is headed right now, at least our churches within our community, and St. Luke being one of them, I think you are looking at the problem in the face. You are not looking at it alone. You are standing with your allies in the community to do that. But ultimately, you are helping create that blueprint for what Black unity looks like in Waco, Texas. And so it takes all of us, and it takes all of us to be everywhere together and a part of things with one another.
Thank you for your transparency. That I think that makes these moments meaningful. And the heartbeat of this faith and culture dialogue is recognizing what you just said, that if we don't address it in the pulpit, people are still learning about it, people are still hearing about it. And so we can't be afraid to tackle any topic, any issue. And this is why we're having this dialogue. We want to be informed. We don't want to act like it's not taking place. And if I don't have the answers, we can reach out to somebody that does. What I do want to do is I want to make sure we give you the last word, but I also wanted to provide some space for questions.
Yes.
And I know there are a few people who are on, and I do see one question. If you do have some questions, if you could put those in the chat now, and we'll be sure to ask those. The first question that I saw was, does the African American Chamber offer information regarding angel donors?
Yes, angel donors and angel lenders. I will tell you this, there is not a database or a list that exists for a lot of things that we can find for you. But I absolutely know what it is, and you can absolutely contact us, and I will research to find you angel donors or lenders and information in our community. And if it doesn't happen that they exist in the community, the supplemental information that you may need, what kind of grants, what kind of venture capitalists. So bring your question, any question about business is always welcome at the chamber.
There's another question, and I'm not sure if I'm understanding it all the way, but it says, does this include nonprofit organizations? And so the question may be, does the chamber work with nonprofit organizations, and how do they support? If that's not that question, Sister Johnson, could you please clarify? Or could you share if the chamber works with nonprofits, and if so, how do they support nonprofits?
Absolutely. We work, number one, we seem to work with everybody. From universities to school districts to for-profits to nonprofits. Some of the major nonprofits that we absolutely are partners with in the community is Prosper Waco, Grassroots Community Development, Habitat for Humanity, Neighbor Works. I would say if we're not partners with them yet, it's because we hadn't had a chance to sit down. But we've even established partnerships with the Dr. Pepper Museum, the Mayborn Museum, the library. When I say everybody knows everybody within this circle, or at least knows somebody that knows somebody, it's true. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I get to be, for me and myself, the connect for people that I know, to plug them into people and relationships that they need to prosper.
Good. We have a question about how to contact the chamber during COVID-19 with social distancing in place. Are you meeting in the office? How do people get a hold of you so that they can get some of these resources?
That's a wonderful question. That's the best question I've had today, because we are, number one, we are still working. We have been throughout the pandemic, but one of the things that we realize and recognize is that we are a team of three. So if one or two of us go down, the chamber staff goes down. So with the changes right now in the cases, we have gone back to doing remote working from home. So first thing you want to do, if you want to reach out to anybody at the chamber, you can call and leave a message anytime, because we check those regularly. That number is 254-235-3204. You can
say that one more time. I'm going to put that in the chat box.
254-235-3204. They're also welcome to email us. Our email address is info, I-N-F-O, at centexchamber.com. And so that's our general mailbox where you can ask questions of any sort, be it membership or referral, or how do I get something done? And our team will follow up accordingly. I will ask
info at Cen-Tex Chamber.
Mm-hmm. Info at centexchamber.com. No dashes, no spaces. But I would ask everyone to bear with us during this time, because as I mentioned, we are a 3-person team, and there are some things that are one person's specialty. There are some things that maybe the first person you speak to can answer right off the bat, but it takes time. And so during the time where everybody is adjusting to schedule changes, back to school, and meeting remotely, please don't be afraid to follow up if you haven't gotten a response, and don't take offense to it if it takes more than 2 days to get a response, because I'll be out on vacation in a week. So my responses will probably come in the next 2 weeks, but we are available to be reached, and they can also reach out to us on Facebook as well, on Cen-Tex Chamber or Cen-Tex African American Chamber.
There is a great question. There has been a lot of development happening, especially in East Waco. There is a question regarding banks. And the question is, do we have any Black-owned banks? I'm thinking in Waco, and if not in Waco, do you know of any Black-owned banks that we might be able to access and support?
Well, no, there is not a Black-owned bank in Waco. So to answer that question, we've asked why not, and we asked how could it be. So that's the next challenge. If anybody wants to take that further, those kind of things we like to talk about. But what you can look at nationally anywhere and see is, I believe it's One United Bank, where they have offices and branches throughout the U.S. And I believe they have some branches in the Dallas area. And you can do online banking from Waco, or if you're close to a branch, you can do transactions within their branch. But I would definitely look at the other funding mechanisms that do exist also in our community that are driven by people of color, and the Equity Fund is one of those. It does not function as a bank for the community, but it does function as a funding mechanism for businesses of color created by the African American Chamber of Commerce and Partners. So there are some things locally that you can tap into to be a part of a Black collective, but currently there does not exist a Black banking institution.
There is a question, and I think this might be somebody that's going to reach out to the chamber. They said their son is a new small business owner. He can definitely benefit from the service of the chamber. He recently registered his business name. What exactly does that mean for him?
Well, he wants to make sure not only that he registers a local business with the county, but you also want to want to register it federally with the IRS. So that would be, I would say, for a startup consultation, we would walk him through the checklist of items needed to start your business and say, what have you completed? And from there, what resources do you need? An initial consultation with the chamber can help you locate the next steps in business counseling, where you can have regular counseling sessions. And we are, as a matter of fact, for everyone to note, the SBDC counselor will be traveling around and visiting each chamber and startup Waco moving forward as part of our agreement. So we will have
Can you share what SB, you said SB?
Small Business Development Center. Yes, okay. SBDC. They are located, this local area office is out at MCC at McLennan Community College, but their counselors will also be serving in all of the chambers to provide free counseling and Startup Waco. So one of the things we would do with her son, again, go over the checklist, see where you are. And if there's additional business counseling and regular counseling he would like to have, set him up with counseling sessions with the SBDC, and then continue to check in and work with him from there on his business goals and where he is on them.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time. We have just a few minutes left, and I want to make sure I give you the last word. And if there's anything else that you haven't shared that you want to share, I want to give you the opportunity to do that. But before we do that, I want to encourage everybody to support the chamber, to support the Equity Fund, visiting the chamber's website. All the support that you give makes a difference. There is a major push now. If you're not able to write the $100,000 check, that's all right.
Yeah.
If you can write the check for $10 a month to support the chamber, that goes a long way. And so I just want to encourage everybody to support the local chamber. They are the Cen-Tex African American Chamber. They're doing some wonderful things, and the community support makes the difference. With that, I'm going to give you the last word, and you will close us out.
Absolutely. Again, I thank you. It is, this is where I want to be in this season, is with the church family, whether it is my brothers and sisters at Tolliver or if it's community members. So I thank you for that, because I'm answering that call. As God is giving opportunities, I'm answering it. And for the record, everybody, I am back at Tolliver. COVID brought me back to going to the physical building, sitting in the parking lot for
drive-in worship. Yeah.
Drive-in worship. I'm there for it. But beyond that, the last thing I really want, if you carry nothing else from my being a part of this talk today, please share this one thing with every single Black person that you know. Now is our time. nationally, locally, but we can mess that up if we don't do it together.
Mm.
I have been able to see how strategic plans have come together, in the community. I've been able to see visioning. I've been able to see even how the greatest of strategic plans, like baby stop, systemic racism, came together. Everything that has been done to us or done against us or even done for us has to be planned, and it has to be people working to move that forward. So if you have a desire to be a part of positive change in your community or on any level in our nation, it starts with unity. If the collective voice is what's important right now to people of color or Black businesses or whatever that may be, join your voices with others that do that. Stop the spirit of competitiveness, of crabbiness, of backbiting, of undercutting, of backstabbing, because that will get us nowhere. And as you can see, our detractors stand back and point at us when they see infighting. So let us not infight. We can disagree, we can debate, we can even not personally like one another and want to spend time relaxing. But when it comes to business, it's about us handling our business together right now. So that is my call to action. It's not about come join the chamber. It's get with your people and get something done right now, because it is the time, and it could easily slip away or be mishandled if we don't strategically plan together and move in solidarity on the things that matter to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If we can give her a virtual round of applause. She can't hear it, but she
I
could
feel it.
feel the love. She can feel the love. She called us to action, and part of her call to action, she said, you don't have to join the chamber, but I want to encourage you to join the chamber. It makes a difference. It makes a difference. I've joined, I think, under a couple of organizations to support. And so we are grateful for the work that they're doing. Thank you so much. This is our first Faith and Culture Dialogue, and you have made it something special. Tell your son thank you for joining us as well.
Cameo.
Yes, he got his cameo, and we know that you have the ability to multitask.
You know
Amen.
what? I do. And he was prophesied over as a child
Mm-hmm.
to be a great and outstanding man. And I believe it, because he is giving me the business right now
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
that strong mindedness, and that attention to detail is going to serve him well when he gets into leadership. And that's the key for all our parents. Our next leaders and the people that's really going to take it to the next level are going to be our children and grandchildren.
Well, you could get him ready on that chessboard, because I'm working with my kids, and we're gonna see if he's
He's
ready.
ready.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back next month with our next Faith and Culture Dialogue. Thank you, and be blessed.
Be blessed.